Howdy homies. Inside this stuff sack right here is my Paria Sanctuary Sil Tarp. I've had this tarp for over 5 years now, so I figure it's a good time to do a review. Thanks for joining me. Let's take a look at this thing. Here she is, the Paria Sanctuary Sil Tarp. This is the 12 foot by 10 foot rectangular model. I've had this tarp for well over 5 years now, and in that 5 years, I have used it in all sorts of conditions. Super windy conditions, I've used it on canoe trips, I've used it with a bug net, I've used it hammock camping, I've used it in the winter, I've used it in the pouring rain, I've used it as a community tarp. I've used this thing in all kinds of situations, and it's never let me down. This thing has just been flat out awesome. The only issue that I have had with this tarp is a couple little pinholes from sparks from having the tarp close to fire. It's bound to happen. This was my first lightweight tarp. Prior to this tarp, I had been using poly tarps, and those worked just fine, but I wanted to drop a bunch of weight and some bulk, so this is what I went with. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty. What is it about this tarp that made me want to buy it? Well, one, it's pretty lightweight. It's made from a 30 denier ripstop nylon, which is not the lightest weight material you can get from a tarp, but it's pretty decent considering the price point, which is another thing that attracted me. This thing was $89, and you don't just get the tarp. You get the tarp, you get 6 stakes, and you get 6 guy lines with line locks. And those guy lines are awesome. I'll get back to those in just a minute. This is, as I had mentioned, a 12 foot by 10 foot rectangular shape. There are 16 perimeter tie-out points around the whole perimeter of the tarp. It's got a top center tie-out point, making for quite a bit of versatility. You can pitch this thing in all kinds of different configurations. The perimeter tie-out points are reinforced, and all the stitching is top-notch. It's dual silicone and polyurethane coated. It's seam sealed with a hydrostatic head rating of 5,000 millimeters. The seam tape is aces. It was done really well. It's still holding up. None of it is pulling off. This thing's been holding up to the test of time. And the weight of the tarp by itself is a claimed 21 ounces. The combined weight, they claim to be 27 ounces, which I believe to be in the ballpark, but I can't give an exact weight because I don't have the original stuff sack bag, and I'm not using the original stakes either. Anyway, the whole kit, 27 ounces, that's not bad. All coming in at a price of $89.99. Now, back to the guy lines. The guy lines are actually what inspired me to make this video. On all my tarp setups, the stake outlines that I use are from this tarp setup. I left one behind. I'm pretty sure that I know where it is. I'm gonna go back to that location and look for it and see if it's still there as soon as I can start paddling again and going on multi-night trips. So having lost one, I replaced it with line that I had kicking around, and it doesn't match, and it drives me crazy. All my lines are color coded. My ridge lines are one color, my guy lines are a different color, and all my other miscellaneous lines for whatever job that might need to be done are another color, and they didn't match. So I recently went on the Paria website and bought some of their 1.5 millimeter cord, 50 feet, and I got 10 of their micro line locks. Having to have replaced those old lines, it got me to thinking, wow, these have held up really well over the course of how long has it been? And I sat down and thought about it. Like, it's well over 5 years. And that made me realize this tarp deserves its own little 5-year review. So 5 years later, what are my thoughts? Since the purchase of this tarp, I have purchased other tarps and my collection has grown. After 5 years, I am still using this thing. I still bring this thing on canoe trips and use it as a community tarp. Beat the crap out of it. It's holding up awesome. I've got nothing bad to say about this thing. If you're looking to make that jump into your first lightweight tarp, I would say that this is definitely worthy of consideration. For what you get, the whole kit, at the price, it's top notch, and I can't complain. I have no problem recommending this thing, none at all. If a tarp like this is something that you're interested in, it's definitely worthy of consideration. Do you have any experience with Paria products? I'd really like to know. I'd love to hear about what you have, how it's worked out for you, your experience with it, and your thoughts on it overall. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you find it useful, and I'll talk to you later. If you enjoyed this review, I have a playlist of reviews that you may find interesting. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. Good dog. Good girl.